Ed Hall, CEO of Comux. Thank you for joining us today at the IBC Connected World. Just as a recap, Comux is the non-profit organisation that won the bid from the British government to provide the infrastructure for all local TV stations around the UK. Last time we spoke at NAB, you came to NAB with a shopping list of infrastructure,
Yep.
and you were looking for products from acquisition to transmission. So my question here is, since then you've announced deals with the likes of Ericsson, Arqiva. Where are you at the moment? How far advanced is the rollout?
I mean, actually, I think it's a really good example of why fairs like this are so important because, as you say, NAB, we were there with a shopping list, and we've done our shopping between then and now, really. So I'm looking here for the extras. So, what have we done in that interim few months? Well, we've made our decisions about encoding and how we're going to manage our network in the UK. So we've got 19 licensees at the moment and 27 transmitter locations. We need to link all those up with a new network. We're building a network operations centre in Birmingham. So that's where playout and scheduling will be managed from. The licensees will have remote access to those systems. And the first station will go live on the 26th of November. So the timescale has been incredibly intense and focused. And where are we? Well, physically in Birmingham, the fire suppression system's installed, the air conditioning's installed, the power's installed, the racks were in last week, the SI managers are installed, the playout and servers and management systems are currently being tested off-site, so they'll be ready, assembled to come on-site in the next few weeks.
Wow.
So, we're doing an awful lot, and part of why I'm here is to make sure we're keeping the pressure on those suppliers to make sure that we get everything we need in the timescales that we need.
Very good. So you were working with a budget of about £25 million.
Yep.
So you have the luxury, basically, of building something from the ground up and of working from a greenfield site, essentially.
Yep.
I was interested in terms of, were you considering and how you are implementing solutions for multi-screen and multi-platform sort of delivery within that infrastructure? Are you building it within the first wave of the infrastructure? Are you looking at it for the future?
Kind of halfway between the two. So my primary focus for this sort of 6-month, 8-month period has been to make sure that our transmission systems that are delivering to Freeview, so a digital terrestrial platform in the UK, that we get that right. So the primary functionality that needs to be delivered and on air by the end of November is to deliver that infrastructure and to make that work. But absolutely, I think anyone would be insane at the moment to start building a broadcast infrastructure back office that didn't enable multi-platform delivery. So although we haven't yet commissioned and built those elements of the system, what we have done is ensure that everything we're putting in place is ready for that, and that there's physical space and intellectual space and capacity in the systems to deliver in a multi-channel environment. And since we last spoke, we have already commissioned, we've issued an RFP. So most of those companies, I think, that are in the space of delivering a multi-platform model are speaking to us, and I think over the course of the next 2-3 months, we'll be in a position to make a decision about how we want to do that. I think remember that we're the operator that sits behind the local licensees themselves.
Yep.
So I think many of them will have a view about how they want to deliver their content in a multi-platform world. So we're kind of, I suppose I would describe what we've built as multi-platform ready.
Okay.
If that's a phrase that makes sense.
And then the local operators will have the freedom to roll out multi-screen delivery, or at least
Absolutely. Yeah. So the systems we have are perfectly capable of delivering in all kinds of codecs, in all kinds of ways. And we have some need to do that anyway, because we're enabling the local licensees to share content with each other. So the concept of managing content, of attaching the right data to content so that it makes sense in other environments, is already part of what we built. So so it's a new phrase, I think, but we're multi-platform ready.
Very good. And what are the challenges that come with trying to deliver content to not only the main television screen but secondary devices and all of that? What are the main challenges and how do you address
in my
them?
view, I mean, from a kind of management and commercial perspective, I think most of those challenges are around the data, actually. Um, it is relatively straightforward to come up here with a big checkbook and buy various types of encoders that can deliver in different ways. I've been looking at some of the AVERT stuff just before I arrived here. And there are plenty of new toys that will deliver streams in lots of different ways. So that's very straightforward, I think. What is, I think, still more complex is what are the relevant pieces of data that need to attach to that enable you to commercialize that video content, but also to ensure that you're measuring what you do with it subsequently. And I think there's a really interesting line beginning to be drawn between people that are consumer driven and are creating platforms that are around advertising, around commercial models, around analytics, and they start stretching back into the technology space of managing servers and managing data streams. At the same time, you've got the traditional data and broadcast management companies building software, building server solutions, building media asset management tools, and they're finding that their clients are asking them, well, how can we deliver to the consumer? But then that involves insertion of pre-roll advertising, valuing that, measuring that. So you've got these two distinct areas of the industry that are, I think, beginning to fight over where the line is between being a customer-focused multi-platform business and being a technology-focused multi-platform business. That's certainly how I read it here at the moment.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. And finally, I'm keen to understand how local TV stations are going to make low-cost programming commercially viable. I think recently, was it London Live announced that they were going to be making programs priced at around £20,000 per hour. So I guess there are many models, but how do you think, is the best way to make it?
We've got some really distinctively different types of models emerging, and to think that all of the stations will be spending £20,000 an hour on programming, I think, would be optimistic. So, and actually, in the current world, I don't think that's very low-cost programming. But London is a separate market, really. I mean, London is 4.75 million homes, and is probably a sustainable business in isolation. But if you look at the rest of the country, then you've got incredibly different models. So some are based on advertiser-funded programming, and there are some restrictions that have been lifted for local television to enable more of that, as long as it's clear and understandable to the viewer. There's local advertising streams. There are ways of creating new types of real-time data-driven advertising. How many seats are left to see Iron Man 3 in your IMAX local cinema now? That type of stuff. So I think you'll see some very innovative business models in local television, and some of those won't work, and some of them will be outstandingly successful. And I've kind of said this a couple of times now, but I think in 5 or 6 years' time, when we look at new innovations in television, new innovations in the commercial models that drive television, and some of the new stars, the people that we're seeing coming up in the industry, there'll be people that started in some of these local TV stations. So, is the model challenging? Of course it is. Is it something new? Of course it is. But 12 million homes, 19 different stations in 12 million homes, it's not creeping in with one person in one small town trying to sell some advertising. The whole profile of this is very much bigger than anything that's been done before.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Ed. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for joining us here, and I hope you have a good rest of the show.
Thank you, and you.
Thank you.